Last week we saw about a verse that talked about Krishna mentioning a verse in which he said how it is important and why it is important that one has to engage in actions. Karma Yoga is the ideal, perfect way. And he also gave examples. Janaka, the king Janaka, also involved himself in actions and he attained mukti purely by performing actions. The reason he took the example of King Janaka was that when such a busy ruler can engage himself in the karma yoga by performing actions and attain mukti, then normal people, ordinary people, can easily engage. The reason is being the ruler of the kingdom is not that easy task. That person has got many responsibilities. He will have to make sure that the country is well protected from the enemies. And if there is a war, he will have to be prepared. So he'll have to make sure that the military base is all ready. And and he also has to make sure that all the people in the kingdom have enough provisions so that they are well fed and they have the necessities of life, right? And it is not that easy, and important decisions need to be made, future planning, everything has to happen. And the king had a lot of say in those days, unlike today where it is decided by multiple people in a democracy. But in those days, one person had so much of say, and so the responsibility was even more higher to make sure that whatever the command that flows out of one's mouth, it better be good to the overall population. And so that is the reason that Krishna took the example of the king Janaka, that he, not even having a moment of free time, could engage himself in the path of karma yoga. Then Arjuna, what about you? You should definitely be engaged in the karma yoga also. And he didn't cease to do any actions. He was totally involved. And so you should also engage in this battle, was the example that he took to motivate Arjuna to perform actions. And what we learn from this verse is that when Janaka and others also have attained, our life is not that hard when you compare to the kings of those days. Even though we do have responsibilities, but we don't have that much responsibility that impacts our decisions are going to at the most affect only our life or people who are dependent on us, our family and friends, whereas the king's actions will impact the country. And when he can do it, you can also do it. And we have to take that into account and engage ourselves into action based living, and not any actions. When he says actions, actions that are appropriate, actions that are performed on an everyday basis. These are not any super heroic actions. He's not talking about any adventurous actions. These are all normal: eating, sleeping, breathing, helping. But when we are doing that, do it as a yajna, do it as a puja for God. And when we think that way, then we will start helping out others. We will stop at least living only for ourselves, and we will expand our operations, our actions to this, to the society or to the neighborhood, and a little bit more wider, wider and wider. That was the whole idea, that Krishna is pushing everyone towards performing the karma yoga. And that was the reason that he said, I have created this universe with an idea of dependency. When you perform actions, devas will be pleased. And when devas are pleased, they will give you the necessities of life. When you have the necessities of life, then you will start living. Until then you cannot live. When you don't have food, where is that? Life itself is not possible. You need food, you need water, you need air. If these necessities are not there, you cannot. And if you look at it nicely, the necessities were provided to us, are provided to us. A human is born, he needed clothes, right? Without clothes he cannot live, without food he cannot live, without water he cannot live. Nature provides all the mechanisms beautifully. There is a river, there is water underground, under the earth, where humans can get water and live. And air is there everywhere. And not only that, dress, right? Clothes, cotton is available quite naturally. And he is empowering us to create, to innovate synthetic materials. All those things are nothing human invented. Everything is got from the earth, and we are having it. So everything is provided in the earth, and we are allowed to use it so that we can live our life. Why do we live? Perform actions. Do not just exist, do not just breathe in, breathe out, enjoy and get out of this earth. But if you do that, you will be pushed back to this earth again. Until you learn, you will be pushed back again and again and again. But in this birth, a person who learns that I am in this birth and I will have to be helpful for others so that I graduate myself, then that person is living as per the laws of Karma Yoga. He is the path of Karma Yoga. He is rightly in the path of Karma Yoga. You don't have to renunciate anything and walk away. You can live as an householder, as a husband or as a wife, but still engage in actions with a thought of prayer, with a thought of doing every action as a puja or prayer. Offer it to me, all the fruits. I will accept it. And you don't take any ownership to yourself, live your life that way, then that is the perfect way of doing the Karma Yoga. When great men like Janaka can do it, you can also do it, is what we learn from that verse. Next verse is verse number 21, chapter number 3. If you are having the book or reference, the shloka goes like this. Yadyadacharati sreshtah taddadevetaro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanu vartate. This shloka talks about a comparison again. A comparison between two groups of people. One group of people are experts, are well read about Dharma Shastras, and they are very good in terms of observance also. It's not just the knowledge, it is how much we observe, how much we live by that knowledge. Always is the most important. Anyone can acquire knowledge by reading books, but very few will be observing it, practicing it. So those people who are called Sreshtaha, in this shloka there is a Sreshtaha. Sreshtaha means great people who have the knowledge as well as the observance. Those people, whatever they do as the right thing, rest of the people who look up to these great people will also follow them, and they will start doing that as the right thing. And that is the reason that great people should always act responsibly. When they take an example, or any authority. I'm going to live by Gita. Then rest of the people who look up to them also will start living by Gita. I'm just giving living by Gita as an example. But any action that we do, we have some followers who are looking up to us. They will also start adopting that method. So Krishna's point here is, Arjuna, you are such a great personality. You are a great archer, great warrior. People look up to you and people will write about you. When whatever example that you do, others will also start following you. If you right now abandon this war and walk away from this, then Vedavyasa will easily write it that Arjuna walked away in the middle of the battlefield. People will read it, and people who have been keeping Arjuna as their hero now will start doing that same thing. They will also abandon and they will not participate or engage in any warfare. And so many warriors will desert their profession. They will no longer be warriors, and that will create total chaos in the society. And that is the reason that people in responsible positions should act with care. Now, what do we learn from this verse? Just take a moment and think about it. Each one of us, as an adult, we play many roles in our life. As a parent, as a son or daughter to our grandparents, or our parents, right? And also in the society, we may be teachers, or we may be employed in some organization. We may be playing the role of a manager, a supervisor, or an employee. And also we may also be playing the role of a government employee or a leader, political leader, any such thing, right? Whatever that role that we play, we will have some people who will be observing us, who will be looking up to us as leaders. If you take an example of household, if you are a parent, children are looking up to us for examples. Where else they will look for examples, right? Good or bad, they learn at home by looking up to the elders at home. Whatever behavior, whatever words that we use, whatever actions that we do, is all they have. It's an encyclopedia for them that goes into their mind, and then they start living their life assuming that that is the truth. My mom told me, my mom will react this way, my dad would want me to do it because he had done it this way. That is their reference authority, and every children live by that, right? That is how they get their habits, they get their mindset. So if as a parent, if you had ever wondered that why is my daughter or son doing this, I wish that my son or daughter did it slightly differently, the way that I wanted it. You don't have to wonder why. They all got it from us subconsciously. And well, we can always argue that I always wanted to be good, but we don't know the words that we spoke, the actions that we did have impacted and influenced them. That is the reason that many a time when guests, for example, just giving an example, guests come, how we treat them, how we talk to them, how we respond to them is the way that children are observing that, and they will also repeat it as they grow, because that is their only way to learn, right? And after they leave, the guests leave, what do? We talk good about them, we talk bad about them, or we don't talk anything about them. That also the children are observing. Then they pick up like, okay, that is how the trend is. And not only that, that, they look up to the mom or dad for any situation, on a given situation, a tough situation, an angry situation, fearful, scary situation. How did my mom or dad respond to that? And they remember that. They look up and then they register in their mind subconsciously, even without we are aware of it. Right? We don't care at that moment. At the height of the moment, we will respond either by screaming or by whatever means, rudely, or how we speak to others. Our children are observing. We speak rudely, and how we speak to others over phone. They observe it. We think that, okay, I've been talking to my friend, and how will my child know about it? But they observe it and they take examples. The words we use, the mood with which we talk about others, right? Talking about others, especially behind their back. You know, children learn that. My parents do it, so that means it should be right. I can also talk behind. Maybe they may not do it right now, so that we don't know about it, but as they grow, they are subconsciously picking it up from us, the parents. And so we understand that these qualities exist and these behaviors exist where they observe and learn. And what do we learn from this verse is, when juniors are looking up to seniors, then seniors should be aware of it and be responsible and do actions that are more refined, and with the thought that these actions will be followed by my juniors. So let me do it, inspecting those actions. If some action is not needed, let me avoid it, because if I do it, if I engage in it, my juniors are going to follow it. And there are actions that we may not be doing that also one should be aware of. For example, if someone asks for help and we know that, okay, someone needs help, I'm not doing it. Maybe my child is not even aware that, okay, that person asked for help, or it all ends with the parents or adults maybe. But then if we go out and do that help, children may be aware of it. Oh, my dad or mom volunteered there. My dad or mom helped this person. So I should also go out and help others. So such good attributes that we should be doing, if we abstain from doing, if we are not doing, then we are not giving proper examples to our children from which they can learn, build their habits, build their character. We are denying them. So that is also one more reason that we should engage in actions, in good actions. On the other hand, if we engage in wrong actions, so say that I gamble and I believe that I can become a billionaire by betting, and I do it every day and night, then my children will naturally pick that up. And they will also start with the belief that, okay, by betting, if they see it, if I keep making money, then they will see that, oh yeah, making money through gambling makes it works, because my dad had made millions of dollars. All right, so and when they engage in it, we don't know whether they will be successful or not, but they picked up the habit that betting worked for my dad, so it should work for me also. And betting is not bad because my dad did it. So they will take example from the seniors. Now Krishna is worried here that, Arjuna, if you do it, then others will take example from you and they will go astray. They will go their life will go haywire. It will be a total chaos if you do incorrect actions and others follow such incorrect actions, is what Krishna is driving towards. And if you would have, there are many examples that you can actually think about. Parents are what both of us, both mom and dad are software engineers, let's say, and both of them are too busy all the time with the laptop, on the laptop, working and working. Anytime son or daughter asks anything, I'm busy, please later, I'm in a meeting, you can't see it, we just drive them away. So children naturally start looking up to their mom and dad as busy human beings. I cannot trouble them. And they will start reasoning out. I hear from many of my friends that their children doesn't want to become software engineers. When you ask them that the reason that the children give is, I don't want to be that busy. It is always hectic, stressful, because I'm seeing my parents, they are so stressful. That is the reason that they give. So naturally they picked it up. And also there is a new trend that if you had observed, uh, that is picking up among the children. Few of the children these days, they want to take up studies related to depression, psychology as their major, psychiatry as their major. I was wondering what prompted these children. Where did they get psychology and psychiatry from? Probably they wanted to help their own parents. That is where they were looking at, how can I help my own parents who are so much gotten into their work and start behaving so crazily that I should study psychiatry and then treat them. Maybe that is the reason that they got the inspiration from their own parents. We should not be responsible for them to take such extreme steps. They have to take based on their own interests, not because by looking at us, right? So that is what is happening, will happen if juniors start looking at us. And that is the reason that as responsible adults in our life, parents as an individual, right, we think that okay, no one is looking at me, or I no one, there are no followers for me, so I'm okay, I'm an individual and my kids are my kids, they have their own life. No, that is totally not correct. When we are living together, when a group of people live together, there is a lot of observation going on that is happening, and no one is individual. Even in the society, you think that you are not that much followed, or you are not that much looked up to, but there are many people who might be indirectly looking up to you as example. We won't even be aware of it. No one will walk up to us and tell us that you are my mentor. They will keep us as mentors virtually. And that is the reason that it becomes even more important that we take our actions more responsibly. That is the takeaway from this verses. Next, we move on to the next verse, which is verse number 9, 21, 19, 20, 22. Sorry, yeah. तस्मादसक्तः सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म paramapnoti purushah. I know we saw these verses last week, but still I wanted to just run through with additional examples to make sure that our understanding is firm. Tasmad, therefore, asaktah, without attachment, always perform actions. Perform your actions to perfection. Asakto hi acharan, only by doing the actions in an unattached way. Paramapnoti Purushaha. You will attain mukti. You will attain me. Krishna now says that you will attain me because Param Apnoti. Param is himself. Apnoti. You will be blessed with my presence. So anything else, if you are talking about God, spirituality, bhakti, devotion, anything else is mere talk. Ganesh Puja, we did modaks and then did all are good only for our enjoyment and entertainment. But beyond that, did we do those actions without attachment? Did we do those modaks as a puja and not as something that either to get name or oh I wanted to be called as one person who did most number of modaks this year, or the one who distributed a lot of modaks to a lot of friends. That name, right? Then it doesn't even matter. We are not even progressing anything. We are not even in spirituality. That is why people now are started looking at spirituality and religion as a, you know, they're not that much trusting people who follow religion or spirituality, because people in the name of religion, people in the name of festivals, happiness should be there, enjoyment and all should be there, no one says that. But with offering to God, I had this beautifully, this day was so good and I just offered it, I just offered it to him, because of him it all happened every moment, then we can be happy, right? Simply by okay, I'll be just happy all by myself because I wanted to get name, I wanted to eat fruits, I wanted to put on new dress. That is why festivals are created. That thought, with that thought, if we enjoy the festival, then that is not spirituality. I'm not saying that is not correct, then that is not religious, that is not spirituality. We should not say that we are devoted. We celebrated Diwali, we celebrated Varalakshmi Vrata, all the right, whatever names that you give to that. That is, let's not bring in God into it, but let us say that we want to be happy. Just friends, we all had a nice time with relatives and friends. We enjoyed it. That is perfectly okay. No one says that is wrong. But by attaching the name of God, we will have to make sure that we observe it in a way. Then we can evolve in spiritual path. Otherwise, it is not spirituality. Then we can maintain the truthfulness of the name, spirituality or religion or Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma or anything that you give. That is what he say. Do those actions constantly. Do those actions with no attachment. Then you will definitely reach me or you will attain me, is what Krishna is now saying in this verse. Let's move on to the next verse. Yadi ह्याहं न वर्तेयं जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः यदि हि अहं न वर्तेयं जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः. If I, for example, do not engage in action, Krishna is now telling Arjuna that Arjuna, you just want to run away from the battlefield. Imagine me, my situation. If I just desist, stay away from actions, not doing any actions, I just relax myself and then say that I'm all done, then rest of the people who look up to me will also be doing that. They will also not do it. Anuvartante. Mama vatmanuvartante. Manushya partha. Anuvartante is to follow me. They will start following my inaction. Right? I cannot be without inaction. Even for a moment, I cannot be inactive. I will have to perform my actions. And the reason that he says is in the next verse. Let's see this verse 24th. Utsideyuri me loka na kuryam karma chedaham sankarasya cha kartasyam upahanyam imah prajah. Utsi deyurime loka. World will perish. It will decompose. It will be. It will go to the ruins if I don't perform any action. Which is true. And Krishna, or if you think about it as the super soul, and that super soul is not active every moment, then this entire universe is stuck. Right? I love to keep doing actions, and if I don't do it, then it will be ruins. Now, what happens if I don't do any actions? Let's say I'm born here as Krishna and I just live my life without anything, any actions. What are the responsibilities he says he will fulfill? He says that karman eva adhikaraste na phaleshu kadachana, and do your actions. And even I yada yada hi dharmasya, whenever wherever dharma is going down, I will be born right there to uplift that dharma and also to protect the innocence. He had taken a vow, loga kshemam vahami, right? In order to protect the innocence, and in in the idea of welfare of the human society, I will be born every once in a while. That is his action, and he is doing that. He is being born. He had taken many avatars. We know that not only by doing avatars, even without doing avatars also, this universe exists because of him. The creation of the universe, the protection of the universe, and the destruction of the universe is all his responsibilities, right? And the creation is not just enough. I'll have to oversee the creation. I just created it, now let me go back to sleep. No, every moment he is overseeing it and making sure that everything goes on smoothly as per the plan. And we think that we do all these things. That is the reason that we don't see him, we don't see his actions. But a person who truly understands that I am not the doer at all, everything is done by him, then that person knows that he never rests. Right? Krishna never rests because everything is happening in this world. It is not people doing it. People do it because they are the doers. People, they are the robots. It's like a stringed dolls, right? He holds the string and he knows which string to pull to make which doll or which puppet to move where, right? We don't decide that. It's a puppetry. If you look at it, that's what is happening, and that is the reason that he is not resting at all. Anything and everything that happens, the situations that happen in our life, is all created, made for that individual to learn. If something happens tomorrow, if my boss is going to yell at me, let's say, for whatever that I have done, the way I should look at it is, Krishna had brought that in front of me. Krishna had made that happen. Only when I have offered everything to Krishna, then I will have the belief that this is also Krishna's play. Because I don't control who is going to yell at me or who is going to give bouquets to me. Tomorrow, a customer can walk in and say that this is your bouquet. Customer meaning the company in which I'm working. That customer can walk in and say that this employee is the best person. He had saved me millions of dollars. Here is the bouquet. That can also happen. Or tomorrow I can win a lottery. Everything, I am not doing it. It is happening to me. It is happening to me. I don't control any part of this game. This game is totally played by Paramatman. And that is the reason that he is not resting anytime. I don't have any influence on the rest of the world. Maybe I have a little bit of influence on few set of things, few set of actions, but not on overall. Overall view, only he has it. And that is how he can influence what can happen, when it can happen. That game only he knows how to play, and he's engaged in that game throughout without taking any rest. That is why now he's saying that if I just step down and not act, then this entire universe will go to the ruins. It will be destroyed. And also, not only that, I will be destroying many individuals who look up to me. Now, Krishna's birth itself is an example for us on how a person should live. When he was born, his birth itself is not that easy, right? He was born in the prison to Devaki and Vasudeva, and he was transferred. So he left his mom and dad, and he lived in with Yashoda Maya, right, and Nanda Maharaj. Both of them took care of him, and he grew up. When he was growing up, see how he did. He just played how a boy should be, going around stealing butter and then enjoying his life nicely, right, and making sure that even no negativities happen. He rise up to the occasion and ask that this is not correct. Asuras in his life, many asuras he had encountered, and he didn't take anyone lightly. He just stepped up and said, this is not right. So what do we learn from that? Even though the kids can be younger, they can they have the ability to look for evil things that are happening, wrong things that are happening, and stand up and say that that is not correct. That is what we learn, right, from Krishna's life. How he asked, he demanded that things are not correct. Every asura, starting from Putana to Bakasura, uh, Kesi, Dhenukasura, a lot of asuras, right? Aghasura, all these are nothing but the situations or evil or wrong things that can happen in one's life. And how do we react to that? We just let it go, or let that even wrong things influence our life, or we stand up to it and fight up, fight against it. That we take example that Krishna, even though he played, he was happy, he still fought for the righteousness. Those are the stories that we'll have to teach our children, saying that, see how Krishna's life is an example. And when he grew up, even though uh, Kamsa happened to be his own uncle, he didn't let him go. He just made sure that he also had to go through that punishment, in the sense that right things need to be right always, not just because my relatives are doing it, my uncle did it, so it is okay. No, anyone, no matter if you are going away from dharma, I will not let you go. That is an example that Krishna has displayed there, right? And when it is right time, he took care of his parents. Until then, his parents were in the prison, but when he came of age, he rescued them from the prison. So the responsibility of the boy to make sure that his parents are safe and happy. So he made sure that that happened. And then when he grew up, how to help a friend, Arjuna was his closest friend. He made sure that he was Arjuna's charioteer, and he gave him this Bhagavad Gita, enlightening Arjuna, helping him understand what is right versus wrong, right? He didn't hesitate. He didn't say that, okay, it is my friend, why should I tell him? If I say something, then he will not like me, or he will not become a friend. He didn't think all those things. If it is right, I will advise you, listen to me, do the right thing. And also, it's not, he didn't say it by standing away from the problem. He himself jumped into the problem. Krishna was sitting right in that battlefield with Arjuna and then giving the advice. It is easy to give advice by staying out of the problem. You have to do, my friend, you are not doing the right way, probably you will have to take this. No, I will be right with you, don't worry. Now let's do the right thing, right? Those are the examples that we learn from Krishna's life. as he progressed in his life, right? So now in this verse he is saying that is the reason he is saying that if I had not lived a life with these events and with this experience, and I have just relaxed myself, then do you think, Arjuna, that people are going to look up to me, follow me, and they will also think that, okay, if Krishna himself is born and he is just cool, and I will also be remain cool, do not do anything at all. And Rama was born. Rama also was not that easy. His life was also not that easy, right? We all know that. And they all, every avatar made sure that he performed his duty, to remind all of us that performing the one's duty is very important, not abstaining from it. So that is what he is driving here. Let's see the next verse. Saktah karmanya vidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryat vidvans tatha saktah chikirshurloka sangraham. Arjuna, ignorant people who are attached to actions will perform actions with an attachment. But wise people should just do those actions with no attachment, so that others, when they are actually performing the actions with attachment, will see such leaders doing their actions. They are not abandoning, the leaders are not abandoning, but they are doing it slightly differently. How is it that they are doing slightly differently? They will start observing, and they will also remove their attachment, but they will not remove their actions. So that is why, Arjuna, you keep doing your actions, because people who have attachment to actions will still look up to you, but do it with no attachment. Then they will start look up to you and see your results, and they will observe there is a stark difference between the way that you execute and live your life versus how they themselves live their life. Then they will start adapting their lifestyle to yours by performing or engaging in actions that are done with a sense of divinity, a sense of sacrifice, sense of yajna, sense of puja in every action. Then they will also start performing it with such theme. Then that will lead to, you will be an example. You will lead many others, ignorant people, who themselves do not know how to get rid of the attachment that they have with their actions. But by looking up to you perform the actions with no attachment, they are now knowledgeable. So you are giving your knowledge to that ignorant people also by doing this. And so, Arjuna, for the welfare of the society, Loka Sangraham, Chikirshur Loka Sangraham. If you see, there is a word called Chikirshur Loka Sangraham. That word means for the welfare of the society, you should do your action with no attachment. Is the meaning that he is trying to drive in this verse. And then in the next verse, he says, there is an important story, that interesting story that I wanted to share around this time. In the previous shloka, that Krishna mentioned that me as God am engaged in actions, and why is it not that you are not doing actions? When you tell this verse to many people, one question that generally we will have is this: how can we visualize that God is engaged in actions? Right? There was an interesting story that people used to tell. There was a Once there was a great scholar who had studied and enlightened and had the greatest knowledge of all time. He visited the kingdoms. Generally, people who are religiously evolved, enlightened gurus, acharyas, or great personalities, they are the most busiest, if you ask me. If you have observed yourself in your life, those people are the most busiest. They will not sit idle even for a moment, because they know this verse. If they sit idle, if religious leaders sit idle, then rest of the people who look up to them will also be idle. Oh, he is just sitting in meditation all the time, I will also sit in meditation. Right? No, they will engage in the welfare of the society. They will make sure it is not the welfare of just their group of people, but everyone around the world, irrespective of caste, creed, age, sex. They will engage in actions with everyone for the welfare of all society. Right? They are the most busiest, and that is why this scholar, who is well read and well educated, he was traveling all around the world, and he went to one of the kingdoms. The king was a non-believer of God, and so he but still, because of the scholar's knowledge that he heard about, the king had heard about earlier, he invited that scholar into the palace, and he did all the necessary welcome and respects and made him occupy a seat. And then the king asked, so I am a non-believer. Now you say that you are a believer in God, and you have your your knowledge, you owe that to God and all. Now where is this God? In which direction is he sitting? And what is he doing right now? I wanted to know. That is the most important part that we are interested also, right? So the king asked the scholar, what is he doing right now? Where is he? And in which direction he is sitting? That we also have this questions, right? Every once in a while, as much as we don't want to get such doubts in our mind, we will dismiss it. No, no, God is real. I should believe in God. We should not dismiss it. Any question that happens to your mind, that is real. Whether God is real or not, such question is not wrong. Even with the kids, at times they will ask this question: is God really there or is not there? Then I have observed parents admonishing the children, saying that, shh, don't ask such questions. You should not ask. Why not? I had a question, I don't know, because my mind is unable to perceive. My mind can believe only what I can see and hear. The children, we have to just acknowledge it and say that that is a good question. I also do not know the answer. I'm trying to figure out. And I'm seeing this. That is somehow a better way than just primarily making them not ask that question. The moment we make not ask that questions, then kids will start thinking God as something secret and something unknown. Only great men can know it. I cannot know it. I can never understand it. So they will go far away from it, because my mind is not able to perceive it. So that means that he is not, either maybe he is there, but I am not able to understand it. Let me just leave him alone, kind of attitude, right? We should not do that even to ourselves. If we get it, then we should not dismiss it. We should inspect it. Why am I getting the question? Let me go through. That means that it is true that I don't believe it. Why is it that I'm not believing it? So that is the reason that now this king is asking such a question as to where is God, uh, what is he doing, where is he, which direction he is in, and what is he doing. Now the scholar is smart. The scholar asked an helper who is standing nearby. He asked him to bring a lamp, a diya, and then he brought that to the in the into that court. Now he told the king that the light that is spread in this court hall, he asked all other lights to be turned off. Only the diya was glowing. The light that is glowing in this is God. And you see that it is spread the entire room. You asked which direction is he in. Now you answer me, this lamp, the light that is coming out of this lamp, which direction it is in sitting. Now, even though the king couldn't that much accept that example, but he still is like, okay, it can be perceived, or it can be, you are giving an example to me. Fine, okay, I accept it. But to the last question, what is he doing right now? Because this lamp, light is all okay, but what is he doing right now? And to that question, the scholar, he said that, oh, in order to answer that question, I will have to sit in your seat and you will have to step down and sit in my seat. The king is like surprised. Ministers were upset. What? You want to sit in the crown to answer such question? Why? That is when I will get the answer. Right answer I can give. Ministers opposed, everyone opposed in the court. The king, however, he said, I want to know the answer, so it's okay. Let me step down and let him sit up on the crown. And so he went straight and sat on the chair that the scholar was sitting. The scholar straight went up and sat on the king's crown. Now the scholar answered that this is precisely what God is doing right now. He is making me be the king for this moment, and he is making you sit down and listen to my instructions. This is exactly what God is doing right now. He proved it. Then the king understood. There goes that story. The point that we wanted to make is every action that we do, every action that we see happening in front of us, unfolding in front of us, is being done by that Brahman, Paramatman. And that is the reason that he cannot keep quiet or stay away from action even for a moment, because there is so much at stake if he stays or abstains from work. That is the meaning of that verse. That is the meaning of that story overall. Now, in the next verse, na buddhi bedam janayed ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidwan yuktah samacharan. Na buddhi bedam janayed. So let that person who has the knowledge, who has the capacity to perform actions, who has the ability to understand and do actions without attachment, let him not confuse others of inaction. So this is primarily for the gurus. This verse is primarily for the gurus who are giving knowledge about Bhagavad Gita, or who are spreading information about Gita or the Karma Yoga. That it is not about inaction. Let those people who are responsible in spreading the knowledge, let them not create or unsettle the minds of ignorant people. Instead, let that person himself engage in actions, as an example, and perform and fulfill the duties with devotion and perfection. Instead of saying that being a guru or a spiritual leader, whatever that is, and saying that everyone, let's stop doing any actions. Let's all think about God, and let's meditate. And let's only be divine, only be spiritual, only be. That is not the life, he says clearly. And people will think, have some imagination that you just dedicate our life only to bhakti, devotion. I will just all the time keep saying mantras about if we have such bhakti, then of course we can. If we are like Meera, who cannot even think about anything else, then of course they belong to a different league. But for those ordinary people like us, Krishna is saying that do not think that you always can be abstain from work and get into this path. That is not going to work. And do not, as a spiritual leader or a guru, ever advise, ask people to stay away from work. Do not do engage in material world. We all say that, right? Many people would say that this is all material world. I wanted to be in the spiritual world. I don't want to engage in material thing. People talk, people don't understand, and they yell, they are angry, mad. I wanted to be at peace without engaging in any. They Krishna says that they are all rubbish. Do not even go that route. Engage in action. He says that person, the spiritual leader or guru, whoever who is advising, he himself should set an example. He says in the Joshayet, Josh, Joshayet, that person should motivate, should inspire others. That responsible person should inspire others by engaging in action and fulfilling his responsibilities or duties with devotion and in a state of perfection, so that others can easily follow. Instead, if he should never ever involve in unsettling the minds of the innocent people. So if you hear anywhere from anyone that spirituality is all about renunciation, then that is not it. As per this verse of Bhagavad Gita, spirituality is not renunciation. Spirituality is engaging in action. Spirituality is total living. So what is then difference between spirituality and people who are living, in the sense living, right? They're not even aware of Gita. People who are living with awareness of Gita versus people who are living no awareness of Gita. What is the difference? People who are living with awareness, they live with, they 100% live. People who not aware of Gita, they just live. Because when you have the awareness of Gita and you live, he says that you engage yourself fully with an idea that you are engaging for the sole purpose that I asked you to engage. Krishna is now asking you to engage. Krishna is asking me to engage, live my life fully. Let me live my life fully, performing the duties, performing the actions, and not attaching myself to such actions or attaching myself to the fruits of it. Whenever I get to enjoy something, I attribute to him. Whenever I do something, I attribute to him. It is because of him I do, because of him I receive this. Then such a life is totally lived life than a life that is totally wasted life, which is lived only to fulfill the desires of our pleasures, inner pleasures, or desires of our mind, or desires of this body. Fulfilling such desires of this body, mind, is just a wasted life. But instead, fulfill it, but stay detached. Give it to me and live as a puja or yajna. Then you are living the right way. You should, in fact, live that way. Is what Krishna is now driving. But do not indulge, engage in pleasureful living all the time. Is what he's trying to tell. With that, we come to the end of this week's session. श्रियः कान्ताय कल्याणनिधये निधयेत्थिनाम् श्रीवेङ्कटनिवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मङ्गलम्। सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।